Part 2! We're gonna tell Hera stories. These should be so much fun. Have you seen Troy? That movie came out when I was in high school. And of course, I wanted to see it because I was in love with Orlando Bloom, because I was in love with Legolas, when really I was just in love with Legolas. And yeah. Ironically though, my husband looks like a cross between Orlando Bloom, John Rhys Davies, and Viggo Mortensen. Like they all had a... He has the dwarf beard. My husband likes to... We're going on. Sorry, this is a side note. My husband likes to say the dwarfs won because I was in love with Legolas, but I ended up with Gimli. It's okay. They're both the whole cast was gorgeous, so it doesn't matter who I ended up with, I still won. Okay, the judgment of Paris. This is why we're talking about Troy. How did I get... It doesn't matter. Oh, okay. We're going to talk about the judgment of Paris. Okay, so this is kind of how the Helen of Troy whole thing kind of started. So it's a Greek myth that plays a crucial role, as I said, into leading up to the Trojan War. Here's why. So we have the wedding of Peleus, a mortal king, and Thetis, a sea nymph. All the gods and goddesses were there to celebrate, except for Eris, the goddess of discord. Did you watch Sinbad? Eris. Just a side note. Okay. Furious at being excluded, like Maleficent, though, that's another story. There's too many things. I swear, I don't have ADHD or ADD. My husband says I might, but I don't think I do. I just keep thinking, I know a lot of stories, okay? I know a lot of stories, and there's so many parallels. Like I said at the end of last video, origination is not a thing anymore. Everybody's thought of everything, and you just have to take your own spin on it. So here we go. Okay. She was mad and crashed the wedding banquet. She threw a golden apple among the guests, and the apple bore the inscription, "To the fairest." Ooh, if you want to start a fight, that's it. 3 goddesses, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, claimed the apple for themselves, each believing that she was the fairest. Unable to decide who deserved the apple, they turned to Zeus. Don't ask. Ooh, Zeus. They asked the king of the gods for a resolution, and Zeus, wisely for once in his life, not wanting to make the difficult decision himself because he would be unalived somehow by 2 of these 3 women, appointed Paris, a prince of Troy known for his fairness, to judge the contest. There's no winning as the judge, but he made a human do it. Each goddess attempted to persuade Paris with tempting offers. Hera promised Paris power and dominion over all of Asia and Europe, making him the most powerful ruler on earth. Athena offered him wisdom and skill in warfare, ensuring that he would be the greatest warrior and strategist. That's how you say that word. He might have maybe should have picked this one, considering what happens. Aphrodite promised Paris the love of the most beautiful mortal woman, Helen of Sparta. There is no wisdom, but here we go. Swayed by the promise of love, Paris awarded the golden apple to Aphrodite, declaring her the fairest of the goddesses. This decision infuriated Hera and Athena, who had way more sway over worldly events than Aphrodite. So, feeling slighted and betrayed, their anger toward Paris and Troy would end up having significant consequences. I would have picked one of those 2, maybe Athena, because at least with Athena on your side, whatever the other 2 threw at you, you could have her help in deflecting. She is known for strategy. You could have found... ruling a kingdom means nothing if Athena's gonna tear it out of your grasp, and neither does love. Here we go. As part of her promise, Aphrodite helped Paris abduct Helen, the wife of King Menelaus. I have the hardest time with his name. Menelaus of Sparta. Oh, I forgot he was of Sparta. Did I know he was from Sparta? Bad idea. They're crazy. They are trained to be psychopaths. Okay. The act of abduction led to the Trojan War as Helen's husband and the Greek allies, including the famous hero Achilles, Odysseus, and Agamemnon, launched the expedition to retrieve Helen and punish Troy. We'll talk about... we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. The judgment of Paris, therefore, is a pivotal moment in Greek mythology, setting the stage for the epic conflict of the Trojan War and highlighting themes of beauty, power, and divine retribution. Now, okay, in the movie Troy, with all those people, Orlando Bloom, is it Hector Bana? Maybe. It doesn't matter who was in it. In that one, Helen was portrayed as actually being in love with Paris. In Greek texts that I have read, she was magicked by Aphrodite. Her will was removed. She didn't actually love Paris, but through the influence of Aphrodite, fell in love with him. And yeah. Actually, there was another one. There was a Helen of Troy. Do you remember the actress who played the elf in Aragon? Not to be confused with Aragorn. That's not a movie or a book. He is a character in The Lord of the Rings, which is amazing. But in Aragon, the movie, the elf princess was played by the same woman who did Helen of Troy, and she was also in love with Paris in that version. So depictions are different depending on what media you are taking. I prefer the idea that she actually, on her own volition, fell in love with Paris because he was a really great guy, even though he abducted her, but Hades abducted Persephone, and there's a lot of kidnapping. Don't kidnap people. We're going to the next story. Hercules. Mentioned in our previous one that we are going to talk about Hercules. Unlike in the Disney movie, Hera was not his mother. Okay? I'm sorry to burst your bubble. If you really... I love the Hercules movie. My husband can quote and sing the whole thing, and we rock out to it. It's great. But she was not his mom. Okay? Her relationship with Hercules, also known as Heracles, Greek mythology, Hercules, Roman mythology, but some reason Hercules is the one that caught on. So, it's one of the most well-known and tumultuous tales. Hercules is the son of Zeus and the mortal woman Alcmene, which made him a target to Hera's jealousy and wrath. And there are some key stories or key events to their story that we're going to go over. So Hera tries to kill Hercules. Her hatred for him began even before he was born, and jealous of Zeus's infidelity, she tried to prevent Hercules' birth by sending her daughter, let's see if I can say this, Eilithyia, the goddess of childbirth, to prolong Alcmene's labor. Despite her efforts, Hercules was born, and Hera then sent 2 serpents to kill the infant while he lay in his cradle. It's kind of like Pain and Panic. However, so it wasn't Hades. Hades wasn't being the bad guy. It was Hera. Even as a baby, he displayed extraordinary strength by strangling the serpents. Hera then drives Hercules mad. She continued to plot against Hercules as he grew older. She drove him into a temporary state of madness, during which he killed his wife, Megara. Oh, Meg. And which is interesting because there's also another thing where Megara is tricked into we'll talk about that in a minute. And their children. So he unalived his whole family, and overwhelmed with grief and guilt, Hercules sought purification and was given the task of performing the 12 labors as penance. So the 12 labors he did, and that Hades threw at him was actually penance for unaliving his whole family. First, we have the Nemean lion. Hera made the lion's skin impenetrable, but Hercules defeated it by strangling it. Then there's the Lernaean Hydra. Hera sent a giant crab to assist the Hydra, but Hercules managed to defeat both. And then there's the apples of the Hesperides. Hera placed a dragon, Ladon, to guard the golden apples, but Hercules outwitted the guardian and obtained the apples. And then, because we don't quit, just because we don't succeed, we don't quit, the belt of Hippolyta. As part of the 12 labors, Hercules was tasked with obtaining the belt of the Amazon queen, Hippolyta. Hera disguised herself as an Amazon warrior and spread rumors that Hercules intended to kidnap Hippolyta, causing a battle. Despite the complications, Hercules succeeded in obtaining the belt. Now, Hera's final reconciliation after the 12 labors and many other heroic deeds, he eventually gained her respect. She's like, okay, I'm not happy that you're my husband's illegitimate child, but I can respect that you did all this. And upon his death, Hercules was granted immortality and descended to Mount Olympus, where he reconciled with Hera. As a sign of their newfound truce, Hera gave her daughter Hebe, the goddess of youth, to Hercules to wife. Because I guess Hercules couldn't go where Meg went because he became a god. Hera's relationship with Hercules obviously reinstates her struggle with jealousy, but, you know, an eventual reconciliation is actually pretty good for her. It highlights the complexities and the divine interactions and the resilience of a goddess and a hero. There's also now our next story, the Golden Fleece. Hera plays a significant yet more supportive role in the myth of the Golden Fleece, which is a famous tale involving the hero Jason and the Argonauts. And now we have King Pelias of Iolcus. Fearing a prophecy that he would be overthrown by a man wearing one sandal, he encountered Jason, who was missing a sandal. And to rid himself of this threat, Pelias sent Jason on a seemingly impossible mission to retrieve the Golden Fleece from Colchis, hoping he would perish in the attempt. Hera, having a grudge against Pelias for neglecting her worship, decided to assist Jason in his quest. She enlisted the help of other gods, including Athena and Aphrodite, even though they were in a beauty competition, and devised a plan. Hera's involvement was crucial in some moments, like gathering the Argonauts. With divine favor, Jason assembled a team of heroes known as the Argonauts. Among them were famous figures like Hercules, Orpheus, and Atalanta. Hera ensured that Jason had the support he needed for the Janus journey ahead through their help. Aphrodite, at Hera's behest, made Medea, the king of Aeetes of Colchis and a powerful sorceress, fall in love with Jason. And this ends up being a really tragic story, and I feel really bad for Medea. This love would be instrumental in helping Jason succeed in his quest. Challenges in the Colchis, so King Aeetes set seemingly a new insurmountable task for Jason to obtain the Golden Fleece. First, he had to yoke a fire-breathing bull. Jason had to yoke and plow a field. Sorry, that was the wrong motion. I don't mean milk. He had to yoke and plow a field with a fire-breathing bull. Medea provided Jason with a potion to protect him from the bull's flames, because she is a sorceress. Sowing the dragon's teeth was next, and this is when Saiyan had... Jason? Saiyan is a new name. Super Saiyan. I never watched Dragon Ball Z. Jason sowed the dragon's teeth in the plowed field, which sprouted into armed warriors. Medea instructed him to throw a stone among them, causing them to fight each other until they were defeated. The fleece was guarded by a fearsome dragon, and so Medea, using her magic, lulled the dragon to sleep, allowing Jason to seize the fleece. So really, Medea did all the work. Yay, Medea! Jason. He wasn't a good person. He used her and left. So once they got the fleece, Jason and the Argonauts fled Colchis, with Medea accompanying them. Hera continued to protect them, aiding their safe return to Iolcus. With this, Hera gets what she wants. Upon their return, Jason presents the golden fleece to King Peleus, and then Medea, using her cunning and magical powers, orchestrated Peleus' downfall, fulfilling Hera's desire for revenge against the neglectful king. Her involvement in the myth of the Golden Fleece highlights her protective and supportive nature, as well as her ability to influence events from behind the scenes. She's like the man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz. Now, the story of Leto. Leto's story with Hera is a tale of jealousy, resilience, and divine intervention. And it begins with Leto, a Titaness and daughter of the Titans Coeus and Phoebe. She became pregnant by Zeus, king of the gods, and this, of course, infuriated Hera, Zeus's wife. And she was known for her jealousy and vindictiveness towards her husband's lovers and their offspring, because how do you punish the king of the gods? When Hera discovered that Leto was pregnant, she unleashed her wrath upon her. Hera decreed that no land under the sun would provide refuge for Leto to give birth. This curse left Leto wandering the earth, desperate to find a safe place where she could deliver her children. She traveled far and wide, seeking a sanctuary, and faced numerous challenges while being turned away by many lands, fearful of Hera's wrath. So if someone found out that she was in the region, they're like, nope, you cannot stay here. Get out, get out, get out. It's very sad. During her wanderings, Leto encountered various hardships, including being pursued by the monsters, or the serpent Python, which Hera had sent to torment her. Finally, Leto found solace on the floating island of Delos, and since the island was not fixed to the earth, it was not subject to Hera's curse. Delos welcomed Leto, and there she gave birth to her twins Apollo and Artemis. The island of Delos became a significant religious site, and Leto's story was celebrated and revered. Now, once born, Apollo and Artemis grew to be powerful deities. Apollo, the god of the sun, music and prophecy, and Artemis, who we talked about previously, the goddess of the moon and the hunt, both played protective roles in their mother's life. Apollo, in particular, avenged the wrongs done to his mother by slaying Python and establishing the Pythian Games in his honor. The album became a story we talked about previously in Artemis's story time. There was Niobe. She was a queen of Thebes, and she said that she was superior to Leto because she had more children. And offended by this arrogance, Leto's children, Apollo and Artemis, killed all of Niobe's offspring, demonstrating their loyalty and the consequences of offending the gods. And Leto's story with Hera just goes back to show themes of maternal devotion, divine retribution, and the enduring strength of a mother facing immense challenges. So as much as Hera is there to help women in childbirth, she can also make it harder. Next story. The birth of Hephaestus. I said that right the first try. So the story of Hera and the birth of Hephaestus is a fascinating tale. And in one version, Hera, wanting to assert her independence from Zeus, decided to conceive a child on her own without his involvement. He did it with Athena. Like, why couldn't she do it? So she gave birth to Hephaestus. But upon seeing that he was born lame and not as perfect as she had hoped, she was ashamed of his appearance. In her disappointment, she threw Hephaestus from Mount Olympus, causing him to fall into the sea. In another version, Hephaestus is the son of both Zeus and Hera. However, upon his birth, Hera was dismayed by his physical deformities and decided to throw him from Mount Olympus. In this version, Zeus's role is more passive, while Hera's actions are driven by her disappointment. After being cast out of Olympus, regardless of the first part of the story you want to go with, Hephaestus fell into the ocean and was rescued by the sea nymphs Thetis and Eurynomé. They cared for him and raised him in a hidden grotto under the sea, and despite his physical imperfections, Hephaestus grew to become a master craftsman and ingenious inventor. He honed his skills in metallurgy, creating exquisite and powerful objects. Eventually, Hephaestus' reputation as a skilled blacksmith spread. Hera and the other gods began to take notice of his talents. But in an act of revenge for his rejection, Hephaestus crafted a beautiful golden throne and sent it to Hera as a gift. However, the throne was designed to trap whoever sat on it. And if you have read or seen the Disney version, at least, of the Percy Jackson first book, this chair is one of the items that is kind of part of the quest. So when Hera sat on the throne, she became bound and unable to free herself. The gods pleaded with Hephaestus to release Hera, but he refused until he was promised a place among the Olympian gods and given Aphrodite as his wife. Eventually, Dionysus, the god of wine, convinced Hephaestus to return to Olympus and free Hera. Hephaestus complied, and in return he was welcomed back to Mount Olympus as the divine blacksmith and craftsman. He became the god of fire, metalworking, and craftsmanship. He forged many remarkable items for the gods, including Zeus's thunderbolts. If you have watched the Fantasia, first one, movie, there's that one song where it has the centaurs and satyrs and Dionysus, Pegasuses, unicorns. It shows at the very end Hephaestus making these thunderbolts for Zeus, who just crashes it down on the party. But regardless, he also made Achilles' armors and Hermes' wing sandals. And despite his initial rejection, Hephaestus earned his place among the gods through his skill and ingenuity. Ixion. Next story. Ixion was a mortal king, the ruler of the Lapiths in Thessaly. He was known for his audacity and scrupulous behavior, and one of his most infamous acts was the murder or unaliving, I need to be better about that, of his father-in-law, Dionysius. Some of these words are easy to say, other names are not. Regardless, Ixion had promised him a lavish bridal gift but failed to deliver. When Dionysius came to claim his due, Ixion lured him into a pit filled with burning coals, unaliving him. Rude. You promised. It's not like he asked for something you didn't already say you were going to give. So Ixion's crime was so heinous that no one would purify him. It sounds like purifying after committing some form of crime is a thing, but you need someone to help you do it. But he became an outcast. Zeus, however, took pity on Ixion and invited him to Olympus, the home of the gods, to cleanse him of the sins and give him a second chance. Did he say he was sorry? I guess being exiled is kind of serving time. Is he a changed man? I don't know. But Zeus decided he would help out. This act of divine mercy, however, was not met with gratitude. So no, this is like letting someone out of prison to commit the same crime all over again. During his time on Olympus, Ixion became infatuated with Hera, Zeus's wife. Blinded by desire, he foolishly attempted to seduce her, even though they're both married. Because remember, the man he unalived was his father-in-law. Zeus wasn't okay with this. Hera, affronted by Ixion's audacity, immediately informed Zeus of his transgression, and Zeus decided to teach him a lesson, one that he would not learn himself. Anyway, I need to get over it. This is Hera's story, and okay. To test his intentions, Zeus created a cloud in the shape of Hera known as Nephele and sent it to Ixion. Ixion, deceived by the likeness, embraced the cloud, confirming his intentions. Zeus' wrath knew no bounds. He condemned Ixion to eternal punishment in the underworld. I wonder if he would have been so upset if Hera took on a lover like willingly. She wanted one, and if it was one of those things that I can do it but you can't. But So Ixion ended up in eternal punishment in the underworld. He was bound to a fiery spinning wheel, often described as a wheel of fire or a wheel of torment. It revolved endlessly, causing him perpetual suffering. And this would not be great for me. I have vertigo. My equilibrium is bad. I also get motion sick. If you wanted torture for me, this would be it. The wheel spun across the heavens and the underworld, serving as a warning to mortals about the consequences of disrespecting the gods. Ixion's union with the cloud Nepheli resulted in the birth of the centaurs, a race of half-human, half-horse creatures. And these beings inherited their father's wild and unruly nature, adding another layer of complexity to Ixion's legacy. And the story of Hera and Ixion serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of hubris and disrespect toward the divine. Complicated one, that. Our last story is about Echo, which I think is one that more people might know about. But we have Echo, who was a beautiful nymph, and she was known for her enchanting voice and her ability to engage in lengthy conversations. So she was a favorite among other nymphs and the gods for her lively and charming personality. Hera, being, suspicious of Zeus, because why wouldn't she be, often went down to kind of try and keep an eye on him, to figure out what he was doing anytime he left Olympus. But Echo, who was loyal to Zeus, devised a plan to protect him from Hera's suspicion. Whenever Hera came close to discovering Zeus's whereabouts, Echo would engage her in long, distracting conversations. By doing so, Echo gave Zeus enough time to escape or hide his misdeeds. So, Hera was not happy about this when she found out. She discovered Echo was helping Zeus and was furious. As punishment, Hera cursed Echo to lose her voice, leaving her only able to repeat the last words spoken to her. This curse stripped Echo of her ability to engage in meaningful conversations and reduced her to a mere shadow of her former self. After being cursed, Echo's life took another tragic turn. She fell deeply in love with Narcissus, who was a handsome young man and was often consumed with love for himself, and so he was indifferent to her affections. And due to her curse, Echo could only repeat the words Narcissus spoke to her, making it impossible for her to express her love, because he wasn't going to say it to her first, if at all. One day, while Narcissus was wandering in the forest, he called out, "Who is here?" And Echo, hiding nearby, repeated his words, "Who is here?" Confused and intrigued, Narcissus continued to call out, and Echo mimicked his words, hoping to reveal herself. When Narcissus finally saw Echo, he cruelly rejected her, leaving her heartbroken. Devastated by his indifference, Echo withdrew to a secluded place where she eventually withered away, leaving only her voice to haunt the mountains and valleys, forever repeating the words of others. And that's how the Greeks explained the echo. Now, just to kind of finish up, Narcissus' story also ends tragically. Cursed by the god Nemesis, for his cruelty and vanity, he fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. Unable to tear himself away from his image, Narcissus eventually perished, transforming into the flower that bears his name. The story of Hera and Echo serves as a poignant reminder of the power of the gods, the consequences of deception, which is something that just keeps happening to Hera, and the tragic nature of unrequited love. I lied! We have another story! Oh, we have two more stories. This is going to be a little lengthy. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tiresias was a mortal man who, while walking in the woods one day, came across two mating snakes. In some versions of the myth, he struck the snakes with a stick, while in others he simply observed them. Regardless, his actions or presence angered the gods. As a result, Tiresias was transformed into a woman. He lived as a woman for several years, during which time he experienced life from a completely different perspective. Yeah, you would. Eventually, Tiresias encountered the same mating snakes again and either struck them or observed them, reversing the curse and returning to his male form. Years later, Tiresias found himself at the center of a divine argument between Hera and Zeus. The two gods were arguing, or having a dispute, over which gender experienced more pleasure during love. Hera claimed that men experienced more pleasure, while Zeus argued that women did. Unable to settle the argument themselves, they decided to call upon Tiresias, who had lived as both man and woman and could provide a unique perspective. Tiresias decided to side with Zeus and declared that women experience more pleasure during love. Specifically, he stated that if love had 10 parts, women enjoyed 9 of them while men only enjoyed 1. Hera was furious, as she gets, at being contradicted, and so she struck Tiresias blind as punishment for his answer. Zeus, feeling partially responsible for his predicament and wishing to compensate for the harsh punishment, granted him the gift of prophecy. Tiresias! I know who this is. I promise I look at these stories before I had. Tiresias was the prophet in Oedipus. I had a friend who played that part. He had to wear this whole latex face thing to make him look old. It was super cool. Okay, yes, he was blind as punishment for his answer, and Zeus made him, he gave him the gift of prophecy. And he's the one who prophesied that Oedipus's father would be killed by his son, and that the son would then bed his mother, marry his mother, and become king. Yeah, not a part of this story, but if you are familiar with the play Oedipus, that's what happens. Additionally, Zeus extended Tiresias' lifespan, allowing him to live for 7 generations. This man was old, so when they did the makeup for our actor, who was very young, it was pretty creepy. So, yeah, as a seer, Tiresias played a significant role in many Greek myths and legends. His prophetic abilities made him an invaluable advisor to many heroes and rulers, and he is perhaps best known for his involvement, as I mentioned, for Oedipus and Odysseus is the other one. I already kind of explained the Oedipus one, but for Odysseus in the Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus journeyed to the underworld to seek Tiresias' guidance on how to return home to Ithaca. Tiresias provided him with crucial advice for his journey. You're not going to win no matter who you side with when there's a god involved. All right, our final story. My mouth is a little tired, so I'm sorry if I keep slipping up. Aegina is our last story. Aegina was a nymph, the daughter of the river god Aesopus and the nymph Metope. She was known for her beauty, which caught the attention of Zeus, of course, and enamored with her, Zeus decided to pursue her. Zeus, in his typical manner, transformed himself into an eagle and abducted Aegina. I think it's Aegina. He carried her away to the island of Oenon, later known as Aegina, where he made her his lover. The union between Zeus and Aegina resulted in the birth of a son named Aeacus, who would later become the king of the island and a respected judge in the underworld. Hera, ever vigilant and jealous of Zeus's numerous affairs, soon discovered the abduction and union of Zeus and Aegina. Her jealousy and anger towards Aegina were fierce, and she decided to take revenge. There's no end. In her wrath, Hera sent a devastating plague to the island, causing the death of many of its inhabitants. The island was left nearly desolate, with only a few survivors remaining. Hera's actions were a direct punishment for the affair between Zeus and Aegina. And in response to the destruction caused by Hera's plague, Zeus sought to repopulate the island. He transformed the ants on the island into human beings, creating a new race of people known as the Myrmidons. Myrmidons were known for their loyalty, industriousness, and martial prowess. They became the subjects of Aeacus, who ruled over them as the king of Aegina. Arcas's descendants, including his son Peleus and Telamon, and his grandson Achilles, played significant roles in Greek mythology. The Myrmidons, under the leadership of Achilles, were renowned warriors in the Trojan War, further solidifying the legacy of Aegina and her divine lineage. And that's the story. Hera, honestly, a lot of unfair things happen to her, and she is simply reacting. Potentially, in fact, she's just not in the best of ways. But she is repeatedly deceived, has no loyalty from people who should be loyal to her. And I understand. It's a lot to think about, her stories and why she is the way she is. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a writer, but I also play D&D, and as a character creator, I'm always wondering, like, why? What's the why? For Hera, it makes a lot of sense. She just keeps getting the short end of the stick, and it's really sad. There are some other gods who do things that they shouldn't, and there's no reason for it, or at least their reason is petty and dumb. I don't know. You can only slap someone in the same place so many times before, I don't know. Do you have a favorite story of Hera? Is there one that I didn't tell that is different from all of these that you think I should go read or look at? And okay, so we have one more god we're talking about, and we're doing this for my husband because his favorite god is Hermes, probably because his dominion is over a certain aspect that he favors when he does get to play D&D as a player, not a dungeon master. We'll talk about that when we get to it, but yeah, let me know. I have plans for more Greek gods in the future, but for right now, we're going to finish off with Hermes and then take a little bit of a turn into a different pantheon. But if there is someone you really want us to talk about, let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can either insert them, move things around. It's not like any of this is set into stone. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, rest of your week, and I guess 2 weeks, since we'd go every other week with these videos. And please be kind. We need more kindness in the world, and every little bit helps. You're wonderful people. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.